Hello, everybody. Hello. How's everybody doing this beautiful, beautiful day here in sunny North Carolina? It is 5/24, May 24th. On this beautiful day, Traci, she'll be joining shortly. Truly appreciate you being here with us this morning, this afternoon. So
hello,
here goes. Hey, Traci.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Because I'm gonna have to turn off my cam today. I'm sorry, people aren't gonna be able to see me because it's I can't get it to work. So either I'm not here and you have a soliloquy, or I don't know what's going on. You just have to see my pulsating circle today. I apologize, people.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
And to know that these things, this occurred just now. Can you imagine? But Traci, how are you doing?
We got to roll with it. Well, I've learned one thing for sure, that you just work with what you have. Because just for the viewers, we just jumped on right before we started. My cam was doing the whole discotheque. We're going to give everybody a headache if I stay on. So I ran downstairs to try to get my husband's camera off his computer, plug that one in, and it's doing the same thing. So there's some sort of weird technological issue that just happened because I was on yesterday all day on Zoom and it wasn't going on. So I don't know what's happening.
So for those of you who come on here to see Traci's face, bye-bye.
Yeah. You don't want to see me like this. Let's just put it that way. I'm gonna still try to fiddle with it. So
I know, yeah. So hey, this as we always say, this is a sandbox, and we're here working things out. If you know what this reminds me of, Traci.
What does it remind you of?
This reminds me of my EP when my electricity went. And I went dark, and it was flickering on and off with the lights.
Yeah. Well, now you're in North Carolina, right? So
yes, I am.
You're here. We're not far from each other.
No.
We'd actually talked about possibly having this one in person, which it turns out it probably would have been a better idea, right? Because we would have probably been using your tech and not mine. You roll with it. It's nice that you can still, this reminds me of, I was doing a presentation, a 3-hour presentation for an organization end of last year. And, I had prepped for this thing over the summer and all that. And I get on and all my tech started to go. Like I couldn't connect, and then I could connect, and I had to jump to my husband's computer, and then I had to borrow cords. And anybody who knows, they've been listening, and Wulwyn, you definitely know, I am not a tech person. So I was really proud of myself that I even knew what to do. But as it went on, like I finally had, they could see me, they could hear me. My slides
Hmm.
weren't working. Then my slides weren't showing up. So then I got that all synced up. So things were working. But then slowly it got down to the point where all they could see were my slides and hear my voice.
There you
And I'm
go.
like, as long as they're getting the information they need,
Yeah.
I couldn't see my slides. They could. They couldn't see me, but they could hear my voice. So anyway, we got through it, and the information was imparted. So I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. But
whatever.
the tech in me wants to root cause something quickly.
Okay.
So do you have an extra, not an extra, do you have a software on your computer that takes care of uh the camera? So it may be called Loggy Capture.
Oh, so if I go into my um
So ladies and gentlemen, this is live support that you're seeing right now
I
from
totally love it. Where do I need to go,
eavesdropping.
Wulwyn?
So click on the click on, do you have Windows 10 or 11 on your computer?
10.
Okay. So you see where the window is in your task bar, or you see search in your task bar?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, click on the window, and then it will bring up a search bar, a search for apps, settings, and documents.
Okay, where is, oh, wait, hold on. Okay, camera and microphone allowed. Accessing
Mm,
your camera and microphone. No,
So
those.
so if you click on the start. If maybe you have to start bar
My
on the
start
taskbar.
bar?
Yeah, on you see where all your opened applications are on the bottom of your screen, or maybe you
Yeah.
have it on the side.
Uh-huh.
Is there a search in there? A
There
search
is a
bar?
search.
Click in there and put Logi, Logi.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Logitech.
Sure.
And then I go over to options. Yeah, this is really interesting for you all, I know. Okay, so this is the official online store. I don't want that, do I?
No, so it should be an app called Logitech Capture, or Logitune. So just go back to that search and put in Logi. And once you hit enter, wait and tell me what you see on your left side of the options you have there.
Okay. I mean, I'm not seeing anything other than maybe we just need to go. I hate doing this though. I mean,
I know.
I know you
It's
want to figure this
No,
out.
no, don't worry. Don't
I
worry. Don't
really
worry.
do not want to be sitting here trying to like stumble through this while people are just like, this is really not what I
So,
want to listen to.
ladies and gentlemen, this is what eavesdrop is. This is in the moment. So Tracy, how are you doing?
I'm doing
other
other
other than
than
tech.
my frustration with not being able to pull this off. I'm actually doing great. It's been a good couple of weeks. I've got a lot of exciting projects going on, so it's been good. And how are you? I mean, you now have been back in the States for how long?
Say for about 2 weeks, I believe. Should be 2 weeks or 3 weeks now. Uh, we started. Yeah, this is the second week, I think. And I am tired. This is the
Yeah.
first time I've been out of the country for roughly 8 months. And it seems I was going every day in Liberia, just going and going, and
Mm,
getting back here, I'm just like a bear, right? Hibernating, just
mm,
I'm just in, and just this morning is when it hit me. You're tired.
mhm,
You're very tired. So, I went to see a couple of friends, and I'm just mellow and like, what's going on? Did Africa do something to you? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just mellow.
Hmm.
and I think I'm tired because I was going and going and going.
Yeah, it's funny. It kind of reminds me. I remember when I used to be like that. I'd come home like from college during
Uh-huh.
breaks, like, summer and Christmas, and that same thing. It was like the first week I just wanted to sleep, and obviously it's hard to do because you haven't been home in a while and you want to see everybody and they want to see you,
Yep.
and I remember my mother saying to me one time when I was telling her, I was like, "Oh, but I can't. I don't. I'm tired, but I can't, because I'm only home for a certain period of time." And she said to me, she said, "That's what you come home for."
Mm. Oh my
This is where
goodness.
you can let down. I mean, you've been going, going, going at school, and just because this is a new place, well, not new, but you feel like you need to be on here too
Mm-hmm.
because it's a visit. She says, "This is home, and home is where you come and let down, and home is where you can come and rest and recoup and um,
Ooh.
get back all of that you need because you can. It's the place we feel we can let down our guard, hopefully,
Yes.
right?"
Yes.
A-
Yes.
and so there's that innate sense of in us that knows that, like, we come home, it's like that safe place to put our head down and just be. So maybe part of it is that too.
Wow. I like that. I like that. I like, at home is where you don't have to add airs. You be yourself.
You be yourself. That's right. You be you. You
Be
do
you.
you, boo.
Do you, boo, right? And you're sitting there, and this is turning out to be maybe something that would just might be what we talk about, and we did speak about this a couple EPs ago. I think last season about coming home. I think it was one
Mhm.
of those that we nobody there are no expectations from the people in your home,
That's right.
and home. I'm going to use home as a uh, I'm gonna define home. Home is where you're comfortable. Your business, right? Your clients could be your clients, could be your friends, could be home, the real place, the house you're in. Uh, when you are home, there's no need to add
Mhm.
or subtract. And you could add if you want to add. You could subtract if you want to subtract. Home, and I think we should always be at home, not saying our feet up like now. I could be at home and then start scratching under my arm or drinking in, but no, we're not saying that. We're saying be at home in the sense own every place you enter,
Mhm.
own every place, and know that you're bringing your best brand to the table, and you don't have to add. If you go with celebrities and you think I'm gonna act like a celebrity, no, be yourself. You're
Mhm.
home in your body.
Mhm. I love that. Well, and what I'm hearing you saying is that when we are at home within ourselves, then no matter where we are at home. And and that's about a comfort. But I do think that there is a certain, it's kind of like excuse me, epigenetics versus genetics, right? So we've
Okay.
got our genetic code, which comes from our predecessors, comes
Mm-hmm.
from our family of origin and who we were birthed to in the family line of that direction. And our epigenetics is our environment, right?
Yep.
So it's how our environment influences and impacts our genetic code. And so there's two different there's what we inherited, so to speak, and then there's what
Mm-hmm.
we create based on our environmental factors. And so there is this thing within epigenetics that has a lot to do with environment.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're in environments, even if it's our home, because you rightfully made a distinction between house, like the physical structure of home, because some people
Mm-hmm.
may not feel at home in their physical structure of home.
Correct. Correct.
Sorry, I'm just taking a
Correct.
drink because also all of my inner gadgetry is going today too, not just my camera. Excuse me.
Try. Can you try to put the camera on now? Let's see.
I
Maybe
can.
it's good. Let's. You never know. There you go. Oh.
I'm
Oh.
gonna cause
Oh.
people to have schizophrenic
Oh.
like
Nah.
um
Okay. No.
so we'll try. I'll try to speak too. But
Yeah.
it's that idea of where we feel comfortable, because I've had these experiences before. I mean, I was just talking to somebody about this when it comes to their different intelligences, right? So our
Mm-hmm.
head intelligence, our cognitive intelligence informs us differently than our heart intelligence, right?
Mm.
Our cardiac intelligence, and then that's different than how our gut intelligence, or our enteric intelligence informs us. And so there are these different things that things can feel like home when our head
Mm.
might be like, no, that doesn't fit. This person, for example, different religious beliefs. Let's say you're in the dating world. It's like you meet someone and they just feel like home. And you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, that moment where you're like, did we cross paths in a past life? Like what happened? Because I feel like I know you, and
Yeah.
and and I feel like I can be myself with you. But then our head gets involved. It's like, oh, but you come from a different religious
Mm.
background, or oh, your political beliefs are different, or
Yeah.
whatever story we choose to tell ourselves, and
Wow.
we don't allow ourselves to actually be at home in the true environments, and people are environments, right? We
Yeah.
visit and spend time with people just like we do in a place. And so environmental factors can be people, right? The people's energy we're around and all that impacts us epigenetically,
Mm.
but we don't allow it. And similarly, it can be the opposite too, where everything aligns on paper and it's like, but we always feel on edge somehow,
Mm.
right? We
Mm.
can't feel at home. We should be able to feel at home. We tell ourselves, because all of the superficial things, well, superficial, I don't mean that in a really negative term, but like all of the stuff adds up on paper.
Yeah.
And yet there's something we're playing into to things, or the people's energy, or it's too much in a way that maybe is patterned, but it's
Mm.
not necessarily authentic to us and how we truly want to be.
Mm.
So we
Mm.
seek out in environmental things that we think are going to match us and be in integrity with us, but then we can never really be who we are. I get this all the time working with clients,
Mm.
where it's that, and it's usually the kind of the typical ones, like what we've been taught around schooling, for example, or politics or religion. Those tend to be the biggest ones. It's like I was raised into this environment,
Yeah.
and this is my environment, and I'm supposed to fit in this box. And what they start to find as they get older is more and more discrepancies between who they truly are, who they were
Mm.
born to be, and the box they've been placing themselves in.
Mm. Wow.
And where
Wow.
those discrepancies get wider, and I heard it a lot at Butner, where guys would tell me, I'm like, well, what led you to want this position you had as like corporate CEO for one of the top Fortune 500 companies, let's say?
Mm-hmm.
Was that something that was your trajectory of intention? I mean, did you want to, and like when you were a little boy, what did you dream of being, kind of thing?
Mm.
And so many of them said, that's not really what I dreamed of, or I actually wanted to be an artist, or a poet, or
Wow.
a
Wow.
rock star, or something else. But in my family, no, everybody was doctors or lawyers, or in my family, we had nothing, and I was not gonna. I wanted power and money because I was never wanting to be in that place again, or there was some reactive aspect
Mm.
that had led them to believe that that's the arena or the environment they needed to be in order to survive, in order to thrive, in order to be happy. And the reason they started to make decisions that were out of integrity is because that's what happens. Like they say, hurt people hurt people. They say that people who are sick make decisions that reflect that. When
Mm.
we're not in integrity, it's very hard to make integrous decisions. We are going to make the kinds of decisions that are in alignment with whether we're in alignment or not. And so these things that, it's just about thinking about that. It's like this gut sense that we have of what home is. And our head might be like, no, Wulwyn, you haven't seen your family in like months, and you can't sleep or rest. You need to be on your family. You want to be with your family. You want to be with your
Mm.
friends. But then there's this other part that's like, I'm home and I'm comfortable, and and I've been going and I need rest and I need to sleep. And how much do we listen to that and how much don't we? Is the
Mm,
question.
wow. Wow. You know, I now I can't, you know what? I'm gonna do this for a second. Um
I'm sorry.
yeah, why not? So for those of you who are listening on the podcast, we I just turned my camera off to see me pulsating or boom, 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 boom. No, so
I'm sorry. I need to stop laughing. But I don't know. That just struck a funny bone.
I
That was
know,
funny.
I know, I know. You know, when you were talking, I was like, why can't I do mine?
I
Whoa.
want to do that
So,
too.
so for those of you who don't understand what this humorous moment is about, Tracy's camera is flickering, so she turned it off. We're using StreamYard. She stopped the cam, and what it does is it shows the pulsating around there. There she is. It shows the pulse of her voice, right? The sound. And I had my video on, and I said, no, why don't I just do the same thing too? So hey, just mirroring here. But no, Tracy, what you were saying, so you did go to the, you know, if you're not, I wrote some notes here, if you're not in congruence with where you're supposed to be, uh, you make the wrong decisions, right? You out of integrity. But I want to bring it, not but, and I want to bring in the other aspect where it's you're not, you took the wrong turn, not the, I'm not going to say the wrong turn. You didn't go, you're pushed by circumstance. You go into a position that you're not supposed to be in, that's not aligned with what you are. You don't make a mistake. You don't go to jail. You don't get in any issues, but you're not in a place where you are your best self.
That's it. That's
You're
it.
you're not
Yep.
your best self. See, that aspect I want, because a lot of you who are watching aren't in, you're not incarcerated, right? But
Mhm.
you are incarcerated in a
Yeah,
way.
we used to say that all the time is that whether you're behind bars or not, when you're not in a place where you really truly can be
Yes.
supportive in an authentic way, you're incarcerated in
Yes.
some respect.
There you go. So you are incarcerated in a way that you are doing, you're performing something only because of circumstances. It could
Ooh,
be mom, it could
ooh,
be
that was like mic drop specific. Like that just
mm,
yes,
yeah,
that
yeah.
that thing right there. Rewind.
Yeah,
And this is what we're talking about. Please send me
yeah.
clip.
So circumstances, being pushed by circumstances, and you know, hindrances or whatever it is, whatever that is, you go down a path and you feel like you can't turn. And I can relate to that. I knew I
Mm,
was a builder. I thought software engineering was the thing because I was building, and we talked about this, I think, season one, 2019. Wow.
wow. I know.
Uh,
Wow is
we,
right.
wow, I'm telling you. So I know I'm a builder. I I go and I start building websites, building software for I work at EMC in RTP. I worked there for 16 years, and I find out that I'm really not a builder, that type of builder. I'm a builder of people.
Mm,
I'm a builder of infrastructure, you
mhm,
know, so have the foundation, you know, infrastructure for Christ, building hospitals, schools, clinics around the world. Uh, and I'm supposed to build things and infuse the foundation to build those other things. So I I pause at the 16th year because I had taken a wrong turn. Circumstances had put me here in my own circumstance, why I said I was tired. I wasn't going to go to grad school right after bachelor's. And I said, I need to make money. So my circumstance of making money sucked me in, which wasn't bad, but after 16 years, by 2011, I'm sitting down going, who am I? I'm
Mm,
not that guy who I and it was praise God that he intervened in my life to turn it around where I dropped cold turkey. I resigned and started doing exactly what I needed to do. And here's what happens in this case, eavesdroppers. For those of you who have where you should have gone on the left fork, you went on the right tine, right? It's important that you grace yourself to either reverse or traverse to the right time, right, jump to that right to the right roadway. It may take time because here's what it was: you took this, and to come from here to there is going to be time. The space in there is going to be time. To come down back here and do this, still time. Give
mm,
yourself grace. Give yourself grace to traverse, jump, or come rewind and go back. Because in the process, that time that it takes to get there, you aren't going to lose time. What you're going to do is the right things you should have done in preparing to become who you were supposed to be, those are the things that you will be doing in that time. So in
mhm.
my process, it's me studying, finding out, oh my goodness, you are rediscovering yourself. And in the rediscovery, every single thing that you did in the time of going in the so-called wrong way, those experiences are tools in your tool bag so that when you do start performing that which you were born to do here on earth, you're going to be doing it with all those experiences and you're going to be even better at it. Yes. And I'm telling you, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Those the traversing that, understanding that you are not really losing time because you went the wrong way, but it's what it is.
that's it. Well, and and I really I love that you took time to really unpack that because
Mhm.
I always say to people, I don't think anything is a mistake.
Mm-mm.
Because even in the learning process, and we all learn differently, right? But human beings in general learn hard lessons in challenge. I mean,
Mm.
it's again, it's why we call them hard lessons, is because we learn best actually through challenge. And I find it really curious because the assessment tool I use in my coaching is called human design, and it is more than just a personality or a behavioral assessment. To me, personality and behavior is almost like the symptom, right? Like when we are
Mm.
either activating within our design or outside of it, you will get a certain personality or behaviors that come from that, right? So we'll get a
Gotcha.
certain set of behaviors and traits when we're working in integrity with who we were designed to be, and we'll maybe get a different set of personalities, traits, behaviors when we're working outside of that. And so it's kind of hard if we're just looking at the symptom to really know what the cause is and or what in this case the true design of the person is. And when I look at people's design,
Mm.
we all are designed to learn and produce value differently. And so understanding how that works, in other words, how are we designed to create in the world, because that's basically what we are. We're creators, we're little mini
Correct.
creators, creating constantly, creating all sorts of things. The ripple effect of just even our sneezes, creating all sorts of,
Mm.
especially in this day and
Mm.
age. You sneeze and people just go scattering. But one of the one of the things that I think is important is to honor that what you just said is that there are no mistakes, but I think a lot of it is also conditioning in that we're meant to make mistakes to learn. And
Mm.
although there can be, like I said, we do learn best in challenge. I think that's because that's how it's been. But as I look into the quantum field of capacity, it's like, but what if we could learn just as much?
Mm.
That's my question. I mean, it's kind of like when like can we
Wow.
intentionally say I am aligned fully? I don't have to step off my path,
Mm,
and I can still be present and fully engaged in a lesson that is going to transform me in some way,
mm,
right? I can actively and fully be part of that without having to step out to do it. That's my question. And that's what I've been looking at a lot too. Like when we look at flow state, for example, I don't know how many people understand or have heard of flow state, but Stephen Kotler is a person in that realm who is, he studied initially premier athletes, and
okay.
especially those who liked the extreme sports.
Mm,
You know, like the people who would do these crazy like ski jumps across like mountain passes. You know, like it's just where you're, you know, like the evil Knievel people.
yep.
And he's like, how can people, he's like, one of the things that he was always curious about was, I mean, these are like, you land properly, all is well. You don't land properly, you die, right? So obviously these people have had enough practice to get that good. How do they keep themselves from dying?
Mm,
What is there positioning that happens, whether it's, you know, kind of learning. Sorry, I had to close my door. The cleaning people are here. So we're also going to be hearing sounds of vacuuming going on. But, you know, is there muscle memory going on? Is there, I mean,
mm,
how do they set themselves up? What is their mental state
mm,
that not only gives them that courage to do what they do? I mean, are they a little crazy? Are they, you know, what he was really curious as to how people, first of all, get to that place, but also how they're successful more often than not
mm.
when they're doing these just crazy, you know, extreme sports kind of things. And through the
Stunts.
years of through the years of studying them, what he found was that they entered this thing called what he started to call flow state.
Mm,
And flow state is when
mm,
we kind of leave just the focus of the head brain, and we kind of I think when I listen to the definition of what how he explains flow state, I think of the syncing up of head, heart, and gut brain, where we become these absorbers of information around us, and we are just like at rapid speed, you know, just sucking up all the bits of data, that whether it's from our head, from our heart, from our gut, but we're just collecting data and all of the data that we need, and we're lining all that data up in order to position ourselves in all aspects just right to land exactly where we're meant to land on the other
mm,
side of that mountain, right?
mm.
And but people do this over and over. So he says, obviously, if they can recreate it, there must be a process there.
Yep.
And so this concept of flow state, I think that's what we're really looking at, that idea of performance and how can we reach peak performance. You know, it's how can we learn and grow and evolve and better ourselves without having to constantly learn through mistakes.
Mm,
Because again, like I said, these people make mistakes and it's like death, right? So you don't make a mistake. You either land or you don't. But if you
yeah.
don't land, you're not coming back to try it again,
Yeah. Uh,
right?
wow. That's oof. This. So two points. Uh, yeah, being engaged. We why we're learning. Why? I think you had the question of why do we learn? I'm paraphrasing. Why do
Mhm,
we think we have to learn in stress? Right?
mhm,
That we have to be uncomfortable, have issues on us in order to learn. And I was thinking, I said, well, it's the first concern, not the first concern, the first point. Uh, we 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 can be engaged without challenge. Uh, and I was thinking, I think why we have mentors, right? Why we have parents, because they can tell us, hey, XYZ may happen, and don't make that mistake. Jump over that mistake.
mhm,
uh I have my brother is someone who, for every mistake he made in life, and he's calculative in everything he does.
mhm,
And
mhm,
if he does something, and a mistake is something like, would lose X amount of money in investments, or old girlfriend that says, watch out for these type of women, blah blah blah, right? So it is a gamut, a broad spectrum. He would always mentor and say, hey, don't do this. And I think what that did for me, it made me grow in wisdom faster because I didn't
Awareness.
have to go through the process of going. He just told me, and it's my ability to accept that, to trust him, to
Yes.
accept that, and say, okay,
Yes.
I hear you, and everything he tells me is true. Everything he tells me is true because I have a history with him. I have a history with a plethora of individuals
Mm,
who it shouldn't just be your brother. It should be people who you trust, who can really speak into your life and make you a better person. The second one about flow state, and oh, I had three then. The fact that we allowed ourselves in this sandbox. We've always said sandbox, sandbox, sandbox. And you know, in a sandbox, sand can go in your eye. Like today, the sand has gone in our eye by in the camera's eye, rather, where the camera can't really show itself because it's blinking and saying, "Oh, I can't see." Oh, oops! I was about to say it worked.
yeah. I'm just demonstrating what you're talking about.
Yeah. Uh, my issue when I was in Liberia, where the lights went out, boom, and we kept on going. Once we put ourselves in parentheses in the parameters of life happens and mistakes occur, I think you allow yourself to go. We're not in warm up. We're in the main event. So switch to main event. We allow ourselves to we grace ourselves to, hey, it's okay that I can fall here, and I'll keep on rolling right after I fall. The third point about this flow state, and I truly enjoy you talking about it so smooth and eloquent and articulate, if I may add, and
Well, thank
Claire, I, I, it reminds me of Malcolm's Gladwell book. Malcolm Gladwell book. I've forgotten the name of it,
Was it
but
Blink?
I think it was Blink. Yes, it is
Mm,
Blink, where numerous, I mean, huge amounts of information we
mm-hmm,
process in
mm-hmm,
milliseconds
mm-hmm.
and make decisions on it. And he talked about, and I can, you know what? I'm not even going to go to anybody. I have experienced it playing basketball. I've experienced
Mm,
it running meetings. I've experienced it doing things that I love. It's you just get in and flow state. I believe is the other word is you're in the moment, right?
yes. Yep, that's right.
Hi there, Carl. Good to see you, man.
Hey,
And
Carl. Good
you
to
can't
not see you.
see
You can't see me.
you can't see Tracy today. She's
No.
gonna blink. She's gonna come and
That's
she's gonna blink
right.
at you. She might
Yeah.
even wink at you.
I'm making faces at everybody. No, that's not true.
But no, so the flow state is in a moment for me where, you know, so you're playing basketball for one, and you can see where the defense is, and you playing offense. I have the basketball. I pretty much know my path because I can see where each person is, and I can detect where that person in the back can go by my movement up here, not knowing I'm really putting him in a position for my benefit and not his. But to his mind, he's thinking, I'm getting in the right position. So when the guy's jumping over the cliffs, it's it's practice, practice, practice. And
Yeah.
believe it or not, Tracy, the practice is I was watching something the other day, the coach for Golden State, Steve Kerr,
Mm,
very excellent shooter. And he said, in order to become a great three-point shooter, an excellent three-point shooter, you got to shoot from 15 feet. And the three-point line is about 23, 25 feet away, right? So I go, so it's properly form shooting at 13, 15 feet, which is right there in front of the rim, pretty much, you know, where the three-point line is. These guys who are jumping, they've jumped 10 feet a lot and knew how to land. and putting 100 feet between, it's only the matter of physics of having a ramp that gives you the right speed and the right trajectory, to come off it. But they've practiced it at 10 feet so much that 20 feet, 30, 100, it's nothing because I've done it so well at 10. So they're in the moment, they're already in the flow. They're already in the moment from 10 feet. Adding 100 feet is just a matter of giving you push and power. And I'm getting something here. For those of us who are, thank you, Lord. For those of us who are attempting to do big things in this world, big creators, content creators, because we said we were creators. We were always creating content, believe it or not. For those of us who are content creators, and that's all of us, don't try to do the 100-foot jump. Don't do the 100-foot jump on your first time doing it. Do the 1 foot. Do the 1 foot shot. Do the 10-foot shot. The 10-foot shot is going to turn to a 20, a 30, a 100-foot shot. The speaking, the podcast that you're trying to do, don't go and buy the $20,000 equipment. Traci and I started with this with a camera that was so grainy. And if you go and look at season 1, the microphone was the mic from the laptop, and everything was just ooh. But allow yourself to grow. Don't compare yourself, so that when you get in the flow state, people will start to say, "Oh my goodness," and you can teach. Go ahead, Traci. Go ahead.
I love that. Well, I mean, I think some really poignant points here, because I mean, even goes back to today's, like, I have moved so far away from need to fix it mode. I mean, growing up, it was always, I mean, I really was very aligned to that perfectionism model. I mean, I need to hit that perfect as many times as I can. And I think a part of it is not just it wasn't really so much the way I was raised. I mean, although I was raised in a family where people, believed in doing their best, it wasn't something that I didn't feel it was safe to not do my best, or that I was chastised or criticized for not doing my best.
Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe because I was always doing my best, but maybe that's why. But I mean, I was very supported, and I think it's my design. I mean, I see this a lot in visionaries is, it's not that it's not good enough. We really do have gratitude. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but we can hold gratitude in our hearts and still want better. And that's what visionaries are really designed to do, is find the better. We're here to create a better human experience.
Yes.
So of course, if we're here to create a better human experience, we're going to be seeing what could be done better. So for me, perfectionism, as I've come to know it, is less about not being perfect, and having to have it perfect because that's what the world expects of me, or that I don't want to look bad or whatever. There's probably early on a lot of that as well, because that's the conditioned ego and all of that. But I think for me, more than anything, it was that because I knew I could. It's always been this drive within me to find a higher evolutionary capacity.
Yes.
Like just to have that experience of doing better and being better, just for the sake of it, even if nobody's watching. Like for me, it's always been fundamentally important. And I know that's been kind of confusing for people around me who don't see the world the way I do, because they're like, when are you just gonna, when is it good enough is good enough? When is, I'm like, never. Not for me. It's not like I look at other people and expect it of you. Maybe I did when I was younger. It's like, what's wrong with you? But now I have great reverence for, like, you're wherever you're at, you do you. Yes. If that's what's good for you, you do that. But I might very well be doing it very differently. Right? I don't want to judge you because I don't want you to judge me. And so I think what you're bringing up is this ability to start to recognize a lot of things. And one of the things that you did mention that got me thinking is you're talking about mentorship. And a lot of people say, like I said this to my daughter all the time, I was like, you are so much wise. I mean, I'll say wiser. You just know so much more now than I did at your age. Like you're much more wise of the world, much more aware of it. Well, of course they are. They're internet babies. I mean, they have access to all this information, and that's what mentorship is. It's somebody there, my grandmother used to always say, I'm telling you these things so you don't make the same mistakes I did.
Repeat it. Yep.
And yet, unfortunately, what she, didn't know was that I was designed to make mistakes because that's how I learn best. That's literally in my human design is
Yes.
trial and error. That's I
Yes.
need to guinea pig myself to the process. And until
Mm.
I was able to accept that and not be like, how come everybody else is smooth sailing and I have to fall on my face all the time to find this way? It was because I was like, oh, okay, that makes so much sense. And I could sit there and I could berate that design, or I could say, well, you know what? It is what it is. I was born with 3
Embrace.
legs. I might as well learn how to run with them. And so that has been, I know I got some weird analogies today.
No, it's good. It's good.
But it's that, I think kids these days too and also too, you can look at, well, is it too much information before they're developmentally ready for it? And so part of this can make it another different kind of challenge where we maybe didn't have that because we came to knowledge once we were developmentally ready, because that's how we came to the knowledge. Whereas now they get the knowledge before they even know what to do with it.
Correct.
And that can be really challenging within its own right. But with information comes the ability to have more if we choose to look at it that way, if we choose to utilize that information in that regard. So when we have more data points, but see, that's the thing, and where I talk about head, heart, gut intelligence, we always have the points of information coming in from our different levels of intelligence.
Yeah.
We're just not always actively capitalizing on that information. When we disregard our gut instincts, or when we don't listen to our heart, or when we're, just listening to our heart and not our head. I mean, it's really supposed to be an integration of all those key data points.
Yes.
To make the most well-founded decisions for us. Now, does that mean we'll never make a mistake? No, but that's what flow state to me really is that alignment of all of those data points, integrating all of that and saying, you know what? And some people, their process is longer. Like in human design, there's a thing called emotional authority. And it's really fascinating. People who have emotional authority, they literally have to ride the wave of all the emotions that they feel around something before they can make a decision effectively. They are designed to come to their decision through sitting through their emotions. So I have a client currently who we just ran his design chart, and he's an emotional authority, and he is a head-oriented guy. He's a young kid, like amazing visionary, but he is absolutely tied to his cerebral intelligence, and everything has to add up to that. And I'm like, well, but you keep sharing with me the challenges you're having. I'm like, if we look at your design, how much credence do you give to your emotions? Oh, emotions are a waste of time. I was like, okay, that's like saying me thinking through this process is a waste of time. Like if I said that to you, what would be your reaction? He's like, oh, well, that's just stupid. I'm like, okay, well, based on your design, you not listening. He goes, what? I'm supposed to just be emotional? I'm like, see, this is where we've defined emotion in ways that doesn't help people. Correct. I said, it's not about being emotional. It's about sitting with, let's say something happens, like you're having this decision you have to make and you're feeling overwhelmed. Take that feeling of overwhelm and simply sit with it. Well, that's uncomfortable. Yes. And I'm supposed to do what with it? Sit with it. Well, then what? Sit with it. Well, am I supposed to just sit with it all day? That's a waste of time. That's not productive. I'm like, well, let me tell you something. When you start to have that experience of sitting with it and you really allow yourself to sit with it, not in your head and trying to figure out what it is you're supposed to be doing with it, you'll find that feeling of overwhelm will just kind of, it's like the passing of a breeze. Yep. It'll come in from one direction and it'll go out the other. And what it will drop in your lap as it passes over you is this clarity of what it is you're seeking that you could have never oriented yourself towards any other way. Yeah. You'll all of a sudden, you'll think you're the most brilliant person on the planet. You will just have information dropping in your lap that you'll be like, where the heck did that come from? And you are. And that experience is what we're talking about, because I said, trust me, you were literally designed to have information drop in your lap if you just sit with your emotions. And he's like, that's so weird. I'm like, okay, but it's true. So try it out. And when he started doing, he's like, oh my gosh, you're what? And of course, the wow and the whoa, and I never knew, and
Yeah.
if I could, and he's like, it's not as painful as I thought. It literally passes really quickly, or sometimes if it doesn't, it brings up other emotions that I'm supposed to be like, I wasn't even aware I was fearful of that. I was thinking I was completely courageous, and I realized I found fear in it when I sat with the overwhelm.
Yeah.
Underneath it was fear, and then I sat with the fear, and underneath that was like stuff I was, stuff from when I was a kid that I had forgotten about that I needed to acknowledge, or whatever. I'm like, yeah, and it all
Mm,
just happens for you.
mm-hmm.
It's not like you
Mm-hmm.
need to have a bunch of people come in, and I'm not saying that we don't ever find stuff that we don't need support through, like therapy or
Correct.
whatever, but most of
Correct.
the time we've got this. We have
Mm,
everything in us. We have all of the innate guidance and tools and strategies and know-how to know what to do in these scenarios. It's just we have not practiced them. And what we don't know, we tend to be naturally fearful of because we've been conditioned to be that.
ooh, can I jump in?
Oh yeah, jump.
Two. I want to jump in on the. I'm going to jump in on the last, and I will go to it. I will. My second jump in will be something you said earlier. Ooh, as in, oh my
Ooh,
goodness.
that's my first jump in.
Ooh, my first jump in is ooh, that we already have the innate ability, and as soon as to heal, to do what we have to do in our,
Yes. Yep.
what hit me was, as soon, if I cut myself now
Mm-hmm.
and give it time, it heals itself.
Mm-hmm.
Understand, team, and what I'm saying, team, all of us eavesdroppers, and all of us, the fact that the flesh, and we're body, mind, spirit, right? The fact that it happens in the flesh, in the physical, it's telling us, everything mirrors. What happens in the spiritual mirrors in the physical.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
Uh, if our bodies can heal itself, and sometimes with the aid of cleaning it with some alcohol and washing it clean, you're right, and stitching it, right? But the body heals itself.
That's
The
right.
doctor says when you get home, uh, do the therapy now, do your exercises, do what you, and if you don't, the body doesn't. The body heals, but it heals stiff.
That's
So
right.
so when the
Yeah.
mental aspect, when you hurt, when there's a cut, when there's an incision made as a blunt force trauma in your spirit, yes, you can get aides to assist you, but you must go and do you have to, it ends up with you,
Yes.
period.
Yes.
It ends up with you doing the work to
Yes.
heal that. The second jump point is, I'm going back to that flow state, what you talked about. It's an alignment of all the data points, and you go in, and I just want to say, if all of us are allowed in our walk on this earth, there's a flow state. Thank you, Lord. There's a flow state. There's a flow state. And when I say state, it's not just a one-off. No, it's
Mm.
it's a continuous flow state when you do what you were designed to do on earth.
Oh,
When
that's
when
like massive drop, like mic drop moment
when
right
when
there.
when you are when you are when you remember, we talked about the fork team, and
Mhm.
if you take this side, it's so hard. Why is it a player playing for one team cannot operate and do what he's supposed to be doing, and when he goes to the other team, the coach puts him in his position that he was supposed to be in, and he becomes a star. Ben Wallace, this guy in Detroit, he was in DC with the
Yeah,
Wizard.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Just
Somebody was
yeah,
just telling me that same, making that same analogy. The guy
yeah.
I'm working on with my next book, he was using that. Go ahead. The same
And
analogy of this player.
yeah, and Ben goes to Detroit, and he's a beast. He got in the place and position where he was supposed to be in. Now, every single time we are, oh, every single time you're in a place and you're getting these hiccups, these hiccups. I'm not saying hiccups and hindrances don't come in when you're in your lane where flow states are supposed to be, but just it's a different kind of hiccup. You see, in your flow, if oh, be quiet, Mike. When you're in the the position where you're supposed to be, those things that occur, they become fuel. Ah,
Yeah, there you go.
they
That's it.
become fuel. If you are not in your state, in your lane, those things occur, they become roadblocks. They
Mm,
become stop signs. They become, "Ugh."
mm,
But when you're in your lane and those things occur, because you're designed, you're where you're supposed to be, you start finding ways because you say, I know I'm going to that point. I'm going there. I have to get there
yeah,
because it's in your design. My
that's it.
daughter's working in this, and I'll close with this. My daughter's working with kids in a daycare,
Mm,
and she says 2 year olds, 1 year olds are speaking in complete sentences. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, they
mm,
are. There's something wrong with these COVID babies, Daddy. I'm like, okay, sweetheart, if you say that. Uh, but she says, but there's just one kid. He's 4 to 5 months old, and he understands cadence. He understands rhythm. I'm like, what do
mm.
you mean? She says, when I go to him and I go, he looks at me and goes, and I said, "What?" She says, "Yes." And she was doing it, and then she noticed that he was mirroring, and she says, "Okay, let's see if you got it." She goes, he goes, she talks to his mom. When the mom comes in, say, "I don't know, but your son has a natural ability for rhythm, for beats, for cadence." And the mom goes, "Okay, no, no." But you see, here's the thing:
Mm,
if mom, and you said it, if mom, it's in the place to understand these data points as a mom, to
mm,
align with those data points, she can look at that little boy now and say, her son, and say, he's naturally into rhythm. Is this a music genius here? Is
mm.
this someone who would understand, who would bring the new Morse code, right? Break something out. Is this someone who's going to do something with rhythm and
Mm.
starts to train him with rhythm? See, this is a part of the education system where I think it's so important at this level, at that level, to start to see where is the genius in all of these kids, because
Yeah,
all of them have it.
that's it. Bingo. Absolutely 100%. I have said that all the way through my teaching career. People said, "Why do you think you were successful?" I said, "Because I was not looking at what they needed to learn. I was looking to understand what their natural genius was and
Mm,
how that genius could be brought to learning, in my case, French." Right. So it wasn't about trying to teach them to better certain skills so that they could know it the way I know it. It was to literally look for what that area of connection point for them that was in their natural design. Not that I understood it in those terms at that time, but I just innately could recognize that my job there was to bring out what was already in them as opposed to trying to instill something within them.
And Tracy, what you said just now is exactly what you're doing with visionaries at a different level,
Yes.
period.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that because, coming to that awareness. I mean, I also making the analogy because my mother, I mean, you know this story and I've told it before. My mother was a horse whisperer. So I'm like,
Mhm.
multi-generation Coloradoan. And so my family goes back in Colorado in the days where, a lot of them owned land there and had ranches. And we would
Mhm.
get, throughout certain times of the year, these wild Mustangs would come roaming the land, and my
Wow.
mother's uncles would capture them and try to break them, right, to sell them for profit. And the ones that they couldn't break, the unbreakables, right, they would give to my mom. And my mom would
Mm.
train them without touching them. She would build this rapport with them. She would let them know that she would build trust with them and an
Mm.
alliance as opposed to trying to beat them into submission and make them do what her bidding, basically, which is what typical breaking is. You break their spirit. and so, you know, there's all these stories within my family of these like full on hardcore, you know,
Horses,
Mustangs, you
Mustangs.
know, mean temperaments that would follow my mother around like little puppy dogs.
Oh my
And, you know,
goodness.
it was because she was aligned with him. And it suddenly occurred to me one day, I'm like, oh my God, I do the same thing. I'm second generation whisperer. I just don't work with horses. I work with visionaries, because visionaries
Yeah.
are like those wild Mustangs, especially the unbreakable ones.
Yes.
We're not meant to be broken. We're meant to bring a different, you know, a different options forward. We're meant to kind of break open the doors of what has been, you know, the norm or status quo, and say, but what if there's another way? What if there's more there? What if there's, you know, what if we've been looking at this from a limited standpoint?
Wow.
So yeah, and I'm going to turn off my mic real quick, so I'll let you talk, because like they're
No,
vacuuming
no,
right by my
no.
door.
It's okay, because this is where we wrap up. You do the wrap up, and we can do it with the sound effects. We don't care. This is a sandbox.
Yeah, so I'm going to try, because it's really loud. I mean, I think there's a lot of lessons in today. I mean, one being roll with it, be in the flow, you know, even when things aren't status quo. And in this case, status quo means all of our technology is in operating form.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what can you bring? Because I mean, one of the things I say to people is the reason I do my coaching over the phone and not in Zoom, in front of Zoom, where people can see me and I can see them, is it allows me to really focus on what I hear, as opposed to what I'm seeing and getting distracted. And so even though I can see you, see, there you go, I can see you, I do find that the fact that I am not being seen, I'm less concerned about, you know, is my hair out of place, or, you know, those typical things that we do when we can see ourselves while we're talking.
Yeah.
That's not a concern. So where I am just like, whoop, in my zone when it comes to what I'm hearing, I also find that it was interesting to me. I think you are on your game today too. Not that you typically aren't on your game, but there was also something with you being there and me not being there visually that affected your ability to be in your genius. Because I'm really picking that up today. You were just hitting some hard, like, points of potency, you know, in your ability to kind of like take a lot of information and bring it down into something very succinct. So I think something happened here, and that's sometimes, again, when we step off our typical rhythm, when we step off of our typical, you know, out of our typical environment, we may find something that is even better. Not to say I'm not going to show up on camera next time, folks. But we just discovered something we wouldn't have discovered otherwise.
Wow. Wow. I tell you, Traci, this has been, you know, I'm finding out, I keep saying that this has been the best show ever. This has been the best show, because hey, I think what we're doing is we're getting our flow state, right? And we're allowing ourselves to get in there. Team, thank you so much, eavesdroppers. Truly appreciate it. Before we go, Carl, you took the medal today for comments, you know, and I think what you said, you know, being gifted at something is not enough. We must practice our craft daily. Be content with small beginnings. We fall into success. Failure is necessary. Also wanted to say education is great, but experience is even better. There are a couple more great nuggets here that bear with me. I know we're about the hour. I have learned to pause before I make my next statement, because it allows me to gather my thoughts and say what is important. And Traci, if you notice, you have stopped flick. Ah, my goodness, you did.
I'm doing it last.
Just because you're tall doesn't mean you're a center. Well, you were talking about the sports analogy, but team, get in your flow state, right? If you have to jump, you know, jump back there and learn in the process, please do. Traci, have a beautiful day, and it's always great hanging out with you.
You too, Wulwyn. Thanks, everyone. It was good to hear you today.
I'm telling you, you guys take care, and I'm just gonna put the goodbye on there, and And that's a wrap.